You went silent, convinced it would shake her world. You imagined her staring at her phone, scrolling through memories, wondering why you vanished. But days have passed, weeks, maybe even months, and nothing has changed. She hasn't reached out. She hasn't cracked. She's living as if you never existed, and you're left staring at a quiet screen, wondering why your absence feels invisible. Why doesn't she feel it? Why doesn't she question? Why does it seem like she's still winning while you're the one waiting? The truth is harsher than you've been told. Silence alone doesn't create power. It only exposes what was already there. And if the man you were never held real weight, your disappearance won't either. By the end of this video, you'll see why your silence hasn't worked, and how to change the story without games, without manipulation, without begging for attention. We're not here to trade tricks. We're here to rebuild you into someone no one can quietly forget. If you're ready to face the truth and stop waiting for her to notice, start this journey now. Like this video, so other men searching for strength can find it. Subscribe to Stoic Station for daily lessons in discipline, detachment, and inner power. In the comments, drop a 1 if you're done waiting. Drop a 2 if you're still hoping she notices. Because what comes next will reveal the first brutal reason your silence isn't working, and it will change how you see power forever. Let's dive in. Reason number 1. She knows you're still waiting. You think your silence is a mystery. You imagine her scrolling through her phone, confused by the sudden quiet, wondering why you've disappeared. But she isn't confused. She's seen this story before, and she already knows how it ends. From the first moment you pulled back, she could sense the hesitation behind it. She's read the signs in other men, and more importantly, in you. She knows the cycle. You stop reaching out, you hope she'll panic, and sooner or later you break the silence with a message meant to pull her back. It's a familiar pattern, and familiar patterns never create power. Many men fall into the same trap. They believe going silent will flip the dynamic. They think she will feel the void, remember their worth, and come running back. But women aren't confused by surface changes. They're perceptive. She has been watching your moves longer than you think. She's seen every apology, every just checking in, every attempt to win her back with consistency and reassurance. And even now, when you're quiet, she can feel the invisible thread that still ties you to her. She knows you haven't let go. That's why your silence doesn't work the way you want it to. It isn't strength. It's a pause built on hope. It's not a man walking away with certainty. It's a man secretly waiting for her reaction. That waiting leaks out in ways you don't even notice. The way you check her stories, the way your energy spikes when she posts, the way your mind still circles back to, maybe she'll notice. She doesn't need words to know you're still orbiting her. Women feel energy more than they analyze logic. She can sense when she's still the center of your world. And as long as she knows she is, your silence feels hollow. This is why there's no urgency on her side. There's no loss to process, no fear that she might have truly lost you. You haven't left. You've just gone quiet. And quiet waiting is still waiting. Waiting is another form of chasing. It may feel like control from your side. You're resisting the urge to reach out. But to her, it's predictable and safe. There's no threat of real change, no reason to question her decision, no reason to feel regret. True silence is not the absence of texts. It's the absence of need. It's not a performance. It's a decision. It's when you stop orbiting her emotionally, stop feeding her attention even in secret, stop measuring your worth by her reaction. Real silence begins when you reclaim your focus and bring it back to yourself, your growth, your mission, your future. It's when you no longer hold space in your mind for what she might think or do. You're not waiting, you're not hoping, you're moving. When silence is rooted in that kind of certainty, everything changes. She can feel the difference between a man who's playing a game and a man who's genuinely detached. One is holding his breath, hoping for attention. The other has stopped breathing her air entirely and built a life she can't touch. That second kind of silence is heavy. It's not manipulation, it's freedom. And freedom has gravity. If you want your silence to matter, it must be complete, not desperate, not strategic, complete. You have to stop being a man who pauses in the hope she'll notice and start being a man who no longer needs her to. That's when the dynamic shifts. That's when she starts to wonder if she misjudged you. That's when questions creep in. Did I lose something valuable? Why isn't he waiting anymore? But here's the irony. By the time she asks, you won't need the answer. You'll be too focused on your own life to care. This is the moment where stoicism matters. A stoic man doesn't control what isn't his to control. He doesn't play emotional chess with someone else's feelings. He controls his actions, his growth, his state of mind. He chooses to detach, to rise, to build. And when he does, silence stops being a tactic. It becomes a reflection of strength. If you're quiet right now but still checking, still hoping, still feeding energy into the past, know this: she feels it. That's why nothing changes. That's why she doesn't miss you. The work isn't to wait longer. The work is to stop waiting at all. Walk away inside yourself first. Take your power back. Build a life where her attention doesn't define your value. Because when your silence comes from evolution instead of expectation, it speaks louder than any message you could send. And when you finally stop waiting, that's when the story changes. Not for her, but for you. That's when your silence becomes power. That's when you stop playing a game she already understands and start living a life she can no longer touch. And that's the shift she never sees coming. Reason number 2. Weak silence shows desperation. A man's silence can draw someone closer, or it can expose his weakness. Women can tell the difference faster than most men ever realize. You might think that by holding back your words, you're creating mystery, but she can feel when that silence is really just fear dressed up as strength. She knows when you've gone quiet, not because you've moved on, but because you're waiting for her to notice. That kind of silence doesn't make her curious. It makes her certain. Many men stop texting but never stop needing. They still check if she's online. They still watch every story, hoping to find a clue. They still measure their worth by whether she reacts. This quiet craving leaks out in ways they don't even see. A late-night scroll, a profile view, the energy behind a post made just to be noticed. Women don't need words to know when a man is still attached. They feel it. They read the hesitation, the small betrayals of confidence, the unspoken plea. I hope you're watching. That's why weak silence backfires. It's supposed to create doubt, but it does the opposite. Instead of making her wonder if she lost you, it reassures her. It tells her, without a single text, that she still has you in her pocket. She knows she can reach out at any moment and you'll respond. She knows you're emotionally anchored to her world, even if you're not saying a word. And once a woman knows that, there's no urgency, no fear, no respect. Your quiet stops feeling like strength and starts looking like another way of chasing. Nothing drains attraction faster than a man whose entire sense of power depends on being noticed. When you go silent but still sit there waiting for her reaction, you've simply changed the method, not the mindset. And women sense mindset more than anything. They don't admire waiting, they dismiss it. They don't feel a magnetic pull, they feel your weakness. They see through the mask and know you're not really gone. You're just pausing the pursuit, hoping it will pull them back. True silence isn't the absence of texting, it's the absence of dependence. It's the quiet of a man who knows who he is, who keeps moving, whether anyone is watching or not. It's the kind of silence that doesn't ask to be noticed. It declares without words that your life is already full. When a man is secure in himself, his silence doesn't feel like manipulation. It feels like gravity. It's the space created by someone who has stepped into his own mission, his own growth, his own purpose. That space is felt because it's not waiting, it's living. If you want your silence to matter, it can't be a tactic. It must be the natural expression of a man who no longer needs approval to keep moving. That means no more checking her profiles to see if she's thinking of you. No more secretly measuring your value by her reaction. No more emotional leash tying your progress to her attention. The man who wins isn't the one who stays quiet the longest. It's the one whose life becomes too big to fit inside the old pattern. Weak silence is a whisper. It's a pause that says, "I hope you notice." Strong silence is an earthquake. It's the energy of a man who doesn't wait to be chosen because he's already chosen his own path. And here's the shift you need to make. Stop hoping your quiet will trigger regret. Stop using time as a test. Build a silence backed by strength, certainty, and purpose. When you do, you won't have to wonder if she feels it. She will, because a man who no longer needs to be noticed is impossible to ignore. And this is where the journey turns. The moment you stop playing with silence like a weapon and start living it as a truth, the power dynamic breaks. She can feel when you're gone for real. She can sense when you're no longer orbiting. And that, brother, is the kind of silence that flips the story, not to bring her back, but to bring you back to yourself. Reason number 3, absence. Without value means nothing. You can disappear for months and still leave no trace if you were easy to replace from the start. Silence only has weight when the man who disappears once mattered deeply. If all you ever gave was comfort, predictability, and endless availability, your sudden quiet won't feel like a loss. It will feel like freedom. That's the harsh truth many men avoid. Silence doesn't create value, it only reveals it. Think about it. People don't miss what was ordinary. They don't long for what was easy to reach or constantly present. They miss what was rare, the spark that couldn't be copied, the depth that couldn't be bought, the energy that changed how they felt about themselves. If your presence was just safe and convenient, if you gave everything without standards, if you tried to prove worth instead of living it, there was never a cost to having you, and no risk in losing you. That's why your absence right now might feel invisible to her. It isn't that she's heartless or incapable of missing someone, it's that she doesn't feel a void. You were reliable but replaceable. You were there but never rare. You gave consistency but not a unique experience worth protecting. So when you vanish, she doesn't feel loss, she feels relief. The space you left doesn't ache. It simply clears room for something new. This is the mistake countless men make. They think silence alone will rewrite the story. They think disappearing for weeks or months will somehow rewrite history and make their presence valuable in hindsight. But if your presence wasn't valuable to begin with, your absence doesn't echo, it evaporates. It's like removing a chair from an empty room. Nothing changes. She just keeps walking. Value is what creates the void. Not time, not disappearing. Value. A man who brings depth, who sets high standards, who lives with purpose and self-respect, is not easily replaced. His presence shifts the atmosphere, his absence disrupts it. A man like that doesn't need to demand attention. Losing him naturally hurts. Silence from such a man isn't strategy, it's impact. And here's the truth you need to face. If your silence isn't felt right now, it's a wake-up call, not a defeat. It's proof that you have work to do. Instead of counting the days of no contact, start counting the ways you can grow. Build a life that commands respect. Strengthen your discipline. Pursue your mission until it shapes you into someone unmistakable. Stop being the man who simply made her comfortable. Become the man whose presence brings fire and direction. The kind of man whose absence can't be ignored because his value can't be duplicated. Women don't regret losing men who gave themselves away cheaply. They regret losing men who raised the standard for everyone who came after. They regret losing the man who inspired growth, who carried purpose, who refused to settle. If you want your absence to thunder instead of fade, you must become that man. Live in a way that forces people to notice the space you leave behind. Don't aim to be pleasant and easy. Aim to be meaningful and rare. Your silence should not be a tactic. It should be the natural consequence of becoming someone too focused on purpose to need recognition. When you evolve into that man, your absence speaks louder than words. It doesn't whisper, "I hope you miss me." It declares, "I am no longer where you left me, and I won't be coming back." That kind of silence shakes the room because it's not empty. It's filled with the gravity of growth. So if your disappearance hasn't made her wonder, don't retreat deeper into waiting. Wake up, start building. Become the man whose value can't be replaced. Because when you are rare, absence is not a pause. It's a thunderclap that echoes long after you're gone. And by the time she realizes what she lost, you won't be waiting for her to notice. You'll be too far ahead to look back. Reason number 4. Time alone won't change anything. Many men treat silence like a strategy and time like a cure. They believe that if they simply disappear long enough, something magical will happen. She will remember the good times, realize her mistake, and come running back. But time doesn't heal attraction. Growth does. Silence alone is not a plan. It's an empty space that changes nothing if the man behind it stays the same. It's a comforting lie to believe in. You tell yourself that every day without contact is making her wonder. You imagine that she's slowly feeling your absence, scrolling through old pictures, regretting her decision. But the truth is far less romantic. Months can pass, and if you return unchanged, still insecure, still craving approval, still drifting without purpose, she won't feel loss. She'll feel relief that she left. Time doesn't rewrite who you are. Time doesn't build confidence. Time doesn't suddenly make you valuable. Only effort, only transformation can do that. This is where so many men get stuck. They confuse patience with progress. They sit in silence, counting the days like a prisoner marking lines on a cell wall, believing each mark is proof they're getting stronger. But waiting doesn't make you stronger. It keeps you frozen. It keeps you chained to the hope that she will regret leaving while you do nothing to become the kind of man no one wants to lose. You think you're playing the long game, but you're just standing still, and standing still is exactly what she expects. When she walked away, she did so because something about you, your neediness, your lack of direction, your dependence on her approval, made her feel she could do better. If you disappear for 6 months but remain that same man, nothing about her perception changes. She doesn't wonder if she made a mistake. She feels reassured she made the right call. Why? Because the man she left hasn't evolved. The absence of contact doesn't equal growth. Silence without transformation is just hiding. This is a painful realization, but it's also freeing, because it means your power isn't tied to time or waiting. It's tied to what you build. Silence only becomes magnetic when it's backed by change, new discipline, new mission, new strength. A man who disappears into growth becomes someone different when he returns. He's fitter, sharper, more centered. His life is rich with purpose. His identity isn't built around being chosen. That kind of man doesn't just disappear, he ascends, and ascension is felt. So stop counting the weeks of no contact like their currency. They're not. They don't buy you respect. They don't buy you attraction. They don't buy you power. Start counting something that matters. The hours you put into mastering your craft, the weight you lift in the gym, the discipline you build day by day, the way you turn your focus from her approval to your own mission. Each step forward is worth more than another week of waiting. Time alone won't change anything because time doesn't move you forward. You do. If you want your silence to carry weight, you must pair it with evolution. Build a body you're proud of. Pursue work that gives you meaning. Create a life so fulfilling that no past love can define it. Don't let silence be your only answer. Let growth be the reason your silence matters. When you commit to this, everything shifts. Your quiet stops feeling like hesitation and starts feeling like strength. You're no longer a man hiding in the shadows hoping to be noticed. You're a man building a future too meaningful to look back. And here's the viral truth that few dare to admit. The moment you stop waiting and start evolving, the power dynamic changes forever. She may notice, she may regret, but by the time she does, you'll be too far ahead to care. Your silence won't just be empty space anymore. It will be the sound of a man who chose himself and never needed permission to grow. Reason number 5. Cut the emotional cord completely. You can stop talking and still belong to her if she still owns your mind. This is the mistake most men make when they try to use silence as power. They pull back their words, but never pull back their energy. They watch her stories in secret, scroll through her photos late at night, replay conversations, and wait for a sign that she's thinking of them. Outwardly, they look detached. Inwardly, they're still chained. And women can feel that chain without hearing a single word. Silence is not just about closing your mouth. It's about reclaiming your mind. Women don't need you to speak to know if they still hold control. They feel it. They sense when they still have the remote to your emotions. Even if you're not reaching out, your energy betrays you. The way you hover over her life online, the way you measure your worth by her reactions, the way your hope quietly lingers. And as long as she knows you're still there, your absence has no weight. She's free while you're paused. She's living while you're waiting. Nothing about that makes her miss you. This is the hard truth. A man who is still emotionally tied is never truly gone. He's safe, predictable, replaceable. She doesn't worry about losing him because she hasn't lost him at all. He's just sitting silently in the same place, waiting for her to return. And nothing kills desire faster than knowing someone is still available no matter what. A man who stays tethered, even in silence, is easy to dismiss. If you want your silence to mean something, you must cut the cord completely. Stop watching her life unfold as if it's still your business. Stop letting her presence in your mind decide your mood. Stop checking to see if she noticed you've been gone. Detach not just in speech, but in spirit. Remove her from the mental space she's been renting for free. Your time, your focus, your emotions. They belong to you, not to someone who walked away. This isn't about hate. It's not about anger. It's about freedom. Cutting the cord means reclaiming yourself. It's stepping out of the prison of waiting and choosing to live fully, with or without her attention. When you do this, the shift is unmistakable. She can feel when she's lost her grip. It's not a game, and it's not manipulation. It's liberation. And liberation changes the dynamic in a way tactics never can. When a woman realizes she no longer lives inside your mind, something powerful happens. She senses that her influence is gone. The certainty she once had, that you'd always be there, cracks. Questions rise. Why doesn't he watch me anymore? Why doesn't he seem to care? Did I lose something valuable? But here's the irony. By the time she feels it, you'll be too far ahead to wait for her reaction. Because the moment you truly detach, her validation no longer defines you. This is why so many men's silence fails. They go quiet but never let go. They hope patience will create longing while their hearts remain chained. But longing isn't born from waiting. It's born from absence, and absence isn't real until you've freed your emotions. A man who no longer lives in the shadow of his past love is a man who commands respect, not because he plays hard to get, but because he has moved on. If your silence hasn't worked, it's not because silence is weak. It's because you're still holding on. Let go completely, in thought, in spirit, in energy. Build a life so full and forward-moving that her presence no longer defines any part of you. That's the moment your disappearance is felt. That's the moment she realizes the control is gone. And that, brother, is when your silence stops being an empty tactic and becomes true power. The power of a man who no longer waits to be chosen. Reason number 6. Power comes from building, not playing games. The goal isn't to make her miss you. The goal is to become the kind of man she can't reach anymore. Not because you're hiding, but because you've grown beyond the need for her validation. Too many men mistake silence for strategy. They pull away, wait, watch, and hope that their absence will trigger regret. They think if they stay quiet long enough, she'll crumble and come back. But silence used as manipulation is weak, and weakness never commands respect. Growth, on the other hand, is undeniable. Stoicism teaches a simple truth. Control only what is yours to control. Your focus, your discipline, your actions. Not her reaction, not her timeline, not whether she regrets leaving. The moment you build your life around trying to influence someone else's feelings, you surrender power. And this is exactly why so many men's silence fails. It's not born from sovereignty, it's born from hope. Every workout is secretly for her to notice. Every social post is a silent cry to make her look. Every move is fueled by a desire to prove something, and because of that, nothing truly changes. Your entire identity is still tied to her approval, even while you pretend to be detached. This quiet desperation shows. You can think you're hiding it, but women feel it. They feel the invisible leash that keeps you small, the hesitation that keeps you from fully living. And nothing is less attractive than a man who appears to have moved on, but is secretly waiting for a text that might never come. It's not strength, it's limbo, and limbo keeps you powerless. If you want true power, stop playing emotional chess. Stop living like every action is a calculated move to make her wonder. That's not mastery, that's manipulation, and it keeps you orbiting the very world you're trying to escape. Instead, build. Build an empire inside and out. Pursue mastery in your craft until your work speaks for you. Strengthen your body until it reflects your discipline. Grow your influence, not as a performance, but as a natural result of living with purpose. Forge a life so rich, so grounded, so forward-moving that no past relationship can define it, and no single person can shake it. When you shift your focus from being noticed to becoming great, everything changes. Your silence stops being a tactic and starts becoming a byproduct of sovereignty. You're not quiet because you're hoping. You're quiet because you're busy. You're not withholding words to create fear. You're fully invested in building something bigger than the past. That kind of energy can't be faked, and it can't be ignored. It commands respect without asking for it. And here's the truth few men are willing to face. The day you stop needing to be missed is the day you become impossible to forget. Because real power doesn't come from waiting, hoping, or plotting. It comes from living so fully that her attention no longer defines you. It comes from outgrowing the version of yourself that once needed her approval. When you step into that space, you no longer play games. You own your life. And by the time she finally notices, you won't need her notice at all, because you will have built something far greater than her validation could ever give you. Brother, let this sink in. Silence only works when it's real, when it's backed by growth, detachment, and a life too strong to orbit anyone. Stop waiting, stop playing games. Build yourself until you're no longer reachable by the past. Like this video so other men searching for strength can find it. Subscribe to Stoic Station for daily lessons on discipline and inner power. In the comments, write this truth: I choose growth over waiting. Because the moment you stop hoping to be noticed and start becoming unstoppable, your silence stops being empty and turns into power.